Hi everyone, my name's Emma. Today we are going to be talking about instant gratification, delayed gratification, and how books are involved in that whole division. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones that we make with more intention will help us create the world that we want to live in. So we talk about here on this channel, how can we take lessons that exist all around us and import them into our own lives to create the life that we want. Now, instant gratification, what is that? You may have heard about it. Delayed gratification, what is it? And how does it really work in our own lives? Well, social media has created instant gratification to the nines. It is something that we all seek because of the quick release of excitement that happens whenever we post a picture, and within seconds people are liking and commenting and telling us what we want to hear most of the time. And when people are telling us things we don't want to hear, that becomes a very negative feeling that we also take with us, but it is also short-lasting. And because of that, we're constantly searching for even quicker ways to consume media, because that is the little high that we are used to constantly. Somebody likes your photo, you like a very short little snip of something that's funny or a really nice quote, something very inspiring, but it's all very quick and small little doses of it over and over and over again. And it's not as satisfying as a goal that takes you months to achieve, but throughout the process you learn a lot about yourself. And that's really what delayed gratification is. When you decide to go to the gym 3 times a week and you do that for months and you try to do it for a very long time, there's a lot more that you get out of it, but not instantly. It takes time to get to a point where you are seeing the results and the unintended results and consequences of it that end up being usually good. When you start going to the gym, you start becoming more responsible, you become more aware of your body, of how you're gaining strength, of how you are actually listening to what your body wants to do and what it doesn't want to do. You feel like you're happier because you're constantly doing things for yourself that make you feel better. Now, this isn't something that is overly emphasized when it comes to working out or any of these other things, because they take so long, and we're so dead set on this consumerist idea of we have to consume constantly and over again. Just like when you buy a new t-shirt, it's that very quick instant gratification, and then by the time you get home or the next day, you've already forgotten about the excitement that you got from buying it. But if you take time to work on something, if you buy a journal and the process of filling up that journal brings you all this joy and you learn these different habits, you learn how to write better, you get to explore different colors in the pens that you write. By the time you reach the end of that journey, you've learned a great deal more about yourself. But it takes a while, and that's really the difference between the instant and the delayed, and it's right in the name. It's the instant will give you an automatic response, while the delayed will give you long-lasting, sustained gratification, but it takes a while to get there. And I think that that's really a big reason why books are something that people are choosing not to read anymore, because it takes a while to read a book. And if you've seen the increase in interest of audiobooks or podcasts and all of this, it takes time to get through those books as well. I've seen audiobooks that go up to 9-10 hours, and that's what I've seen as usually the average. Some books can be 1 or 2 hours, but that's still an hour or two. It's very rarely that you'll see 20 minutes, and even that can seem such a long time for people, especially now with technology and videos decreasing to just merely a minute on TikTok. And with that, we have created an even deeper satisfaction that you need to only have just small instances that aren't sustainable, so you have to stay on that app for a long time. A lot of people will say, oh, I've been on TikTok for 3 hours, so you're watching a little 30-second clips for 3 hours, right? You still spend 3 hours doing it, but because it was such little pieces of instant gratification, you felt as if it was more satisfying. But in 3 hours, you probably could have read, 2/3, a third, 20 pages of the book, or however much you would have read, but you would have gotten something more out of it. And I think another big part of why people choose not to read books is because People are always searching for the one book that is just going to change their life completely. I keep putting this book out because this was a really, really nice book. It was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'll definitely post some more videos about these books as well. There's quite a few here that are the big self-help ones. These are just some of them, and I'll go into them in more detail in another video, but they took quite some time to finish. I really wanted to read a book a week. It hasn't worked out to that exactly. I think I'm a few weeks behind, but it's okay because it's not trying to achieve that goal of reading a book a week, but it's how are you learning from these books? What are you learning from them? And when you read a book, it's not just you, all right, I've read a book, now on to the next, but it's this sense of like, wow, like I accomplished something, and it's a much more satisfying accomplishment than being on TikTok for 10 hours a day. Not that there's anything wrong with being on TikTok or being on any of these social media platforms, but it's the reason that you're approaching them that is the difference. If you're approaching TikTok or Instagram or any of these platforms and you're expecting them to create this sort of satisfaction in you, this sort of gratification that is unfulfilling, that you're expecting people to either raise how you feel about yourself and, give you something to complain about when they say mean things, that's not the goal of these apps, or at least it shouldn't be, because that's really what it is right now, is people are on these apps, searching for the next 1,000 people to like their photos or whatever it is, and it's not something that goes very deep. It's not something that is empowering. It's not something that comes from the self, and self-gratification is the most sustainable one because you're not depending on somebody else to give it to you. If you're posting photos on Instagram all the time because you expect people will like those photos, well, now you're giving people the power over your own life and how you feel about yourself. Because if you take a photo and you're like, I love this photo, it's so nice, and you keep it for yourself, now it doesn't really matter what anybody else says because you like the photo. Not that you can put on Instagram and also still not care because you wanted to share it, because you thought it was awesome, whatever, you should be doing that. But we shouldn't be cheering when somebody says, oh, you look amazing, and we shouldn't be hating on when people say, oh, this is horrible, because neither of those should affect how we feel about ourselves. And instant gratification constantly hands over that power to some other item to have the responsibility to make us happy. And when it doesn't, we try to supplement it by creating more of these little instances that are supposed to make us happy. So when we are constantly searching for that, we're also handing our power over our own lives and how we feel about ourselves. And that is not something that we need to continue to do, and we can't continue to do if we want to have sustained gratification, sustained life, to create a life that we can continue to do for a long time, because you would have to post a lot of Instagram photos or a lot of stuff on Instagram in order to keep that up, and even then, it doesn't last for very long. And because of that, we have to find fulfilling sources to get that gratification from. If it's writing in a journal, and I will also be creating a video about all the different journals that I've had and what I write in them and why it's helped me. But also, so writing in journals, reading books, exercising in whatever form you want to exercise, going for walks, playing with your pets, enjoying food that is both good for you and also tastes awesome. Finding all of these different things in life as tools to help you create the most authentic version of yourselves, and that those acts are not in and of themselves have the power and responsibility over making you happy. And because of that, when we take back that power, we realize there's responsibility with that. Because if you decide I'm going to the gym 3 times a week or I'm exercising 3 times a week, now you have to be self-accountable. I mean, you could have a friend that also goes to the gym with you, but if that friend decides not to go, are you still going? And that's really what it comes down to. It's awesome, and we should have people that we collaborate with and do those different things on, but until we understand this is my choice, this is my decision that I need to make every single moment, we will continue to hand over that power. And when we hand power over the things that make us happy, we are handing over responsibility. And when we do that, we can't really be accountable for the life that we create. And a lot of people don't want that accountability because they don't like the current life that they're living or leading. Because a lot of people that are spending hours and hours on social media are not doing it because it's fulfilling something, but because it's actually not fulfilling something. They're choosing to do that instead of something that would actually bring them closer to how they want to feel about themselves and the world that they live in. But handing over responsibility means like, hey, like, it wasn't me, it was this person. That person is the reason why I was upset all day. I had nothing to do with it. And what all of these books and pretty much everything says is you have the power over your own mind, and that's really it. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on in your life, what's going on in the world, the way you choose to perceive it, to view it, is up to you, and no one can take that away from you unless you're willing to hand it over. And from these books, I've just realized over and over again that every single person has to make those choices for themselves and needs to become accountable and responsible for the power that they have over their own lives. And we all have immense amount of power that we need to continue to contribute to. And that is something that we need to continue to do. So I will talk a bit more about these books next time, and I do try to read many books or try to read them as often as possible. I'm currently reading one that has been taking me all of May to finish, not because it's immensely huge. I just haven't been feeling like I wanted to read as much. And we also get into those places as well where we just don't feel like doing as much as we once were. And it's hard to be in those moments because you feel like, oh my God, all of this. But then again, that is us internalizing what we perceive other people to be thinking about us. And at the end of the day, if you're always thinking about what other people are thinking about you, they're probably thinking the same thing. So it's a lot easier to stop doing that and to release all of it and to just say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling right now. You can acknowledge it, you can honor it, and then you can deal with it and process it instead of just continuing to shove it down. And I think that's a really big thing that these social media platforms allow us to do. It's to escape from whatever reality we no longer want to exist in. And escaping is just that you can only escape for so long, but you end up having to go back to the reality that you were escaping from, because escape doesn't mean you've moved on. It just means you escape the situation for however long before it catches back up to you. And if we were taught to face things head on, which would create delayed gratification, right? Because it's not satisfying to confront how you're feeling right now. We would rather just ignore it until somebody else can deal with it for us, but nobody can deal with it for you. It's your life. And so I think that's a big part of why people are choosing not to read books. But at the end of the day, we can switch our perspective. We can switch our mindset of why we're choosing to do things and how we're choosing to approach it. We're probably never going to completely get rid of any of these social media platforms, and that's okay. We don't have to. We can change our perspective of how it interacts with ourselves and our own lives. So I hope you got something out of today's video. I will be posting more book talks, book reviews. I'll pick some of my favorites and we'll talk about some of the lessons that exist in all of them and just life in general. I hope to see you soon, but until then, have an amazing day.